Eleanor Clift, Washington correspondent with the Daily Beast, joins me now to discuss the president's speech and what we can expect. Eleanor, welcome.
Glad to be here. Thank you.
So the White House has dubbed this as a non-traditional speech. What does that mean exactly?
It means that they're trying every way they know how to get people to watch it because there is a tradition to these speeches. They tend to be long laundry lists of policies and expectations of what the Congress will pass. This president only has 1 year left in his term. He has a Congress that is not likely to go along with him on very many things, although there are one or two on prison reform and possibly voting rights that he might be able to get some accommodations. So he's got to have a bigger vision, and so he hopes that people are going to tune in to find out how he's going to set the table for the presidential election, which is in November of this year, and how his horizons will extend beyond his term. What are the top issues that he's got in his mind?
I want to get to that in a moment, but first, do you think this is more about his vision and his accomplishments and his legacy and less about what still needs to be done?
Well, I think he wants to take a victory lap because he has gotten some important things done. He did rescue the economy, and he also has some important foreign policy achievements. But he's looking at a Congress that is controlled by the other party, and there's a presidential election going on that is basically saying this presidency is failed, that we should all be afraid, that the Middle East is in turmoil. And so I think he can't just speak in historical terms. He has to give some assurance to the American people that it's not as bad as the Republicans are saying it is. And I think he's going to have to give a voice to his policy to defeat ISIL. He'll probably say, I have a strategy. And the truth is, nobody's come up with any magic ways to deal with this. He's got a number of things he's doing. I think he has to address that. He has to address national security and national fears.
And speaking of fears, gun control debate has certainly triggered a lot of division and fear. We've got immigration, we've got climate, we've got terror, we've got unemployment. Do you believe there will be specific policy proposals or more broad themes when it comes to these controversial issues?
Well, he's going to urge Congress to act on background checks for gun buyers in this country, but I don't think he has much confidence that anything will happen. I don't think this is about specific legislative proposals. I think he's going to spend a lot of time on climate change, on immigration, and on guns, which are three issues that just infuriate the other party.
What about closing Guantanamo? That was one of his main campaign promises, Eleanor.
Well, maybe he'll make another last-ditch appeal to the Congress because, you know, prominent Republicans, John McCain has said it should be closed. Former President Bush has said it should be closed. They've estimated that they're spending $1 million a year per prisoner that's kept there. Again, because critics are stoking these fears that if you imprison any of these people in this country, that somehow that will, fuel terrorism. So I think you're right, though. I don't think he's going to let his final State of the Union go by without mentioning that's a key promise he made.
My apologies for interrupting you. What are you hearing as far as any special guests who are going to be present? And also tell us a little bit more about this one empty chair to represent victims of gun violence.
Yes, the empty chair is for the people we've lost in gun violence, and Senator McCain, who I mentioned earlier, has said there should be another empty chair for all the people who've been lost in the Syrian conflict. Actually, if you had an empty chair symbolizing all the horrors in the world, you could empty the chamber pretty quickly.
Sadly.
But the president always invites people that kind of symbolize the things that he's working on. I mean, I was, struck by the Syrian refugee who he's going to celebrate and highlight. And some of the members of Congress have also, they all can each bring a guest. And one Democrat is bringing a 9-year-old Syrian boy who had lost both his arms in a bomb attack. And, so there are so many stories behind all of these special guests. And during the speech, which goes on for quite a long while, the president will nod to each of them.
Of course, there's always the speech, and then there's always the Republican reaction to the speech. So I know you will be watching that for us as well.